recording. Let's try and get this in one take with focus. Lighting's a bit crazy up there, but this will do. So, what is going on, ladies and gents? My name's Evolution and welcome to my channel. So today, guys, we're not on the motorbike, we're in the workshop and we've got the Yamaha MT125. I know you can't see it in the shot at the moment, but more importantly, we've got our bits and bobs here. So I'm actually selling the motorbike shortly, and beforehand I wanted to just carry out a service and check over everything before we do so, such as a oil change, which is what you guys are going to be seeing in today's video, spark plug replacement. We're going to clean, adjust and re-lube the chain, check over the sprockets, adjust the clutch, check the brake pads for wear and give it a nice clean up and get it ready for the new owner. So we're going to be using Castrol Power One 10W40. I've always used this in this bike and it's been spot on, really has. It's semi-synthetic. There's a little bit of debate whether to use fully synthetic. That's my personal option. Feel free to check the user manual for recommendations if you've got any concerns. I've got a Yamaha original filter. Now we've actually got a K&M filter in there at the moment, but we're just going to replace this out with a genuine Yamaha one. It was the easiest one that I could get hold of. And whilst we're at it as well, we've got a whole nother assembly. So we've got the bolt, we've got a gasket on the bolt, gasket for the oil filter, and then we've got the oil strainer and spring here. Reason I'm changing the oil sump plug is because my one is a little bit rounded and I've checked it, it's just in bad condition. So since we're going to the effort of obviously changing everything, now would be a good time to put the whole new assembly in. And as I said, for a standard oil change, just make sure that you purchase the relevant gaskets. It looks something like that, in various shapes, colours and sizes. I want to make this introduction short and snappy for you guys. No one likes a long introduction, you guys just want to see the oil change. So quickly before we start, you're going to need a oil drip pan or something which you can obviously allow the oil to fall into. I've just got a standard black oil pan, which you've probably seen in my previous videos. And also you're just going to need some various socket tools, Allen keys, screwdriver, just your basic tools, nothing fancy. Obviously you're going to need the appropriate size for the sump plug and then anything else for the fairings as well. Everything that you're going to need access to is on the right hand side of the motorbike. Now the reason I say this is because obviously you've got your oil dipstick located here, which is where you're going to top up the oil and check the level. This panel here is your oil filter, 3 bolts, this pops off, oil filter goes inside there. And then the oil sump plug is actually located on the underside of the bike. And in order to get to that, we're actually going to have to remove this side fairing. Now ordinarily, you can just remove this grey piece of plastic here. But because of the other things I'm going to be doing to the bike, I'm actually going to go ahead and remove the whole belly pan, which goes round on both sides of the bike. So that's all the fairings removed now. I've got a nice patch of gravel and stones which have been collected in the belly pan. And just a fun fact for you, there is actually 20 Allen key bolts in total which hold on the belly pan completely. Now to get to the oil sump plug, if you look directly under where this mount is which holds the fairings on, you'll see that the oil sump plug is just on the underside of the engine. Now that's a 19mm socket for those of you wondering. What we're going to do is, before we even think about doing the oil change, is we're going to start the bike up, let the engine warm up to normal idle temperature. Now for the fun bit, where we actually get to empty the guts out of the engine into this lovely looking bowl. Now Yamaha normally give you a little tray which you can rest here to prevent it from just gushing out everywhere over your fairings and your exhaust system. I don't have that, so I'm just going to have to do a bit of cleaning up afterwards. Goes without saying, put something underneath the bike, bearing in mind the sump plug's directly here. Then afterwards we're going to do the oil filter. So yeah, pretty self-explanatory. 19mm socket, go ahead, unloosen that slowly. Whew, that was a close one. Yeah, wonderful. Oh, bollocks. I've just left the oil drip pan to settle for the last 10-15 minutes. There's no more oil coming out now. So I've rearranged to where that's currently sitting so that we can actually now remove the oil filter. So this little panel here, you'll see that you've got 3 bolts, all of which are 8mm socket heads. Lovely jubbly. So this is what the inside of the oil filter plate looks like. That's it from the outside, that's it from the inside. Now obviously the oil filter sits on this hook here, and then you've got your gasket or your O-ring which runs around the outside for obvious reasons. We're replacing both. I'd always highly recommend to replace this outer ring as well, and of course the oil filter goes without saying. So I'm just going to quickly remove the old one. You can probably do so with just like a flathead screwdriver. Just pry it out of its seal like so. You can see at the moment it will retain its shape. Now the new O-ring, which is over here, unfortunately has no shape, so it's going to be a little bit fiddly because you're going to essentially be teaching the O-ring to hold its seal, but you should see it's relatively easy, straightforward to do. So old one now can go in the bin, we're getting rid of that. And then last of all, we've got the oil filter. So go ahead and just plonk that on. That sort of holds in place now, it'll rest on there. And then we are ready to go ahead and install the bolts. Now, to my recollection, the top bolt is the longest, this one here, goes in that top hole, and then the 2 shorter bolts, which are these 2, sit like so in here. So this probably looks a little bit confusing. It seems to only be a setup on a 125. I haven't come across it on the 700, but the way this assembly goes is you've got your sump plug, step number 1, your new O-ring gasket, step number 2, then you've got this spring type compressor that sits in there like so, and then last of all you've got the I don't know, it's basically the oil strainer. It's a little casket basket, and that sits in like so. So the assembly is essentially that, and as you push this into the bike you can press the spring down and it pretty much sits like that. Now the thought behind this is obviously any loose shavings and such is going to get caught in this little mesh basket, and obviously the springs there just to condense everything down like so. So now we're going to fill her up with a new fresh engine blood, formerly known as engine oil. So go ahead and remove the dipstick here. Now that we've refilled the engine with oil, you can go ahead and fit your dipstick. Be sure to wipe it off before fitting it, because you'll just want to check the oil level in a short while just to double check that you're not running under the minimum or over the maximum. We are done. Obviously last step would be to clear up the workspace and refit those fairings. Unfortunately I'm not actually going to do that because I'm leaving the fairings off. What I like to do is then start the bike up on a surface that I can do so, let the engine warm up, get to a normal sort of riding temperature, turn the engine off and give it a short while to settle back as if the bike had not been rode. You need that engine completely cold in order to check the engine oil level. Just double check when you look at the dipstick that it's not below the minimum or above the maximum. You'll see the markers on the dipstick itself. So I hope you guys have found this tutorial useful. Drop a thumbs up if you have, and if you've got any questions feel free to pop them in the comment section below. I'll be more than happy to help. I find it really useful to be able to do, I personally really enjoy working on my bike, and it's nice just to be able to do the oil change at my own accord. Saves you some pennies, and more for convenience you can just do it as and when you want it. But there's no shame in taking your bike to the professionals and letting them do it. If you've got warranty service and it's kind of included, or it's free of cost or a good deal, then there's no harm in doing that. Anyway guys, be sure to stay awesome, ride safe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.